because I want to talk about this guy because in terms of surprises, he's the biggest one on this list for me based on the first half of the season, which is Evan Engram. Evan Engram manages to sneak his way in here into the top 7 of tight ends for points per game.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you were a fan of the Jaguars offense as we were going into the season, if you liked the idea of Evan Engram as a late round tight end, as I did, well, you were super disappointed come about week 6 when like nothing was
Mm-hmm.
happening, nothing good. It was terrible. You absolutely probably dropped the dude. I know I did. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, he's the hottest thing going. And he's just dominating, which is really great to see for
Mm-hmm.
validation. But why couldn't that have happened sooner? And do we believe that it can happen again next year? So my question is, Kyle Pitts versus Evan Engram for 2023 at the moment. Is that a real debate? Is that a real question right now for you?
I would still probably take Pitts over him, even with the draft capital involved. The reason for that is you have Calvin Ridley most likely coming back to the Jags, and he is an alpha. Christian Kirk, great season, good signing by the Jags. Don't get me wrong; this is not to besmirch Christian Kirk and his deeds he did this season, but he's not an alpha wide receiver. He is a great number 2. So you're going to have Calvin Ridley and then Christian Kirk with, I'm assuming Zay Jones sticks around, and he had a very solid season as well in this offense. Unless
Travis
they really,
Etienne.
yeah, you got ETN. So unless they really increase their passing volume, I don't see where Ingram can keep up the pace that he did this year. I think that was just a function of lack of explosive weapons on the team, and he just benefited from that.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I think if we're going to talk about tight ends in earnest today, we need to talk about the idea of what matters for their production. Does it matter for tight ends more specifically than other positions that a team is loaded or not loaded? Like, does it matter for Darren Waller that Devontae Adams went there? That Hunter Renfro, if he had been healthy for the entirety of the season, that they had like an actual tandem? If they had a real third option, I mean, Josh Jacobs as a pass catcher for a running back, like, does that matter for a tight end or a guy like Darren Waller? Do we prefer that they have fewer weapons and a substantially worse offense because of it? Or do we prefer that they have more options and it's a better offense and hopefully they get more touchdowns? Like, I struggle with that on the daily.
Mm-hmm. I that sounds like a great like midsummer episode. We bring on someone much smarter than us that has
I
crunched those
love it.
numbers, and we can
Yes.
really dig into that conversation because I think that's a very
Beautiful.
good conversation topic to have, and kind of what the stats or what the trends show for that. Because I think that
Yeah.
would be interesting. It'd be very enlightening to see, does that make a difference or not?
I mean, obviously it doesn't for Travis Kelsey. Weapons are weapons. It don't fucking matter for Travis Kelsey. But like I'm sure there's a subset of these guys that we're talking about where
Right.
it actually
This
does really matter.
this kind of tight end 6 to 20 range where it's
Right.
just like, well, I mean, they're good football players. They're just not necessarily consistently involved in their offenses. But what are those things we should be looking for those guys that would possibly preclude them to have a breakout type season or a resurgent season like Ingram had this year?